Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian known not to control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Definitely want to do an episode today. I know a lot of people are asking, hey, when you going to do the next vault episode? A lot of people have been looking for this episode, so we're going to do vault episode 295, private money versus public money. This is going to be an episode quite a few people have been asking about and wanting to know about and things of that nature. So we're happy to do this episode for the listeners, the trustees. It's a very easy topic to talk about, but we thank everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Feel free to type into the chat where you're listening live or listening to replay from. Always appreciate it. When it comes to the private money versus the public money, you get a lot of trustees that come through, and there's so many distinguishments that a trustee has to make when it comes to knowing what private money is versus the public money. And so, in this particular episode, when we even talk about private money, I mean, we could talk about it on layers, particularly when we even talk about holding hard assets, holding assets in a private position, things of that nature. So, we definitely want to go over and share this particular thought process. Uh, we definitely want to go over that today because private money versus public money is a very important perspective to have when okay, there are things that are hard, tangible assets. There are things that are cash flowing. And then we're talking about public money, and now public money has turned into something that we've never seen before, or we've seen before, and people may not be getting ready to take the jump and fall out of the sky completely yet. So appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Shout out to Baltimore, Maryland. Appreciate Baltimore, Maryland for tuning in live, listening to replay. So private money versus public money. Well, let's go look at the public money. The public money is the money that actually can be confiscated. Oh, I got my birth certificate. I'm trying to do some type of discharge. I'm trying to do some type of thing with my birth certificate. You're doing something with a paper instrument, not even with a hard, tangible asset. Of course, it's public. Public is paper. Right. We get these people talking about the Bitcoin nowadays and this decentralization and the bookkeeping, double book entry, bookkeeping, and things of that nature. Appreciate California for tuning in live. Shout out to California for tuning in live, listening to replay. Appreciate California, wherever you are in California, tuning in live, listening to replay. Uh, we got to think about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's not intended to be legal advice or financial advice. We have to know the difference and have an open conversation about what public money is. Because some people say public money can be, uh, it can be these type of financial terms where you can get rid of a debt, bankrupt, things like that. Public side, you could be bankrupt. You can't be insolvent in the private money. You have to have funds or you don't. Public side says you can bankrupt entities, right? Private money says you have to have it. Hard tangible assets now. That's private money. Hard tangible assets. It's one of the first lessons our trustees, we make sure they know with their families when their children are sitting in a room and they want to know what's the difference between public money and private money. The private, for sure, is the hard tangible asset, whether it's in value, intrinsic, or nominal. The public money, though. The public money is these handouts that go out to the public. Now, think about the public, ladies and gentlemen. The public is charity. Private is for self interest. The public is for charity. The private is for self interest. Appreciate San Francisco for tuning in live. San Francisco tuning in live, listening to replay. Shout out to San Francisco. private interest. So how are you going private and you're not in the private sector with your family estate? How are you going private? You thinking about this? You're gonna let 5 years go by? You're gonna let 10 years go by? But then we got the trustees, they did that. They invested in their private education. They made sure they understood what's private's private, the private money's the private money, the public money's the public money. They made a distinguishment and they made it a point to separate the business from the personal, the business from the family, because that's how it's done. It's business, not personal. What happened to a generation? What happened to generations? Well, there was a lack of private education. They went and got a public education from the public school. They barely gave them enough to operate in society and become a multimillionaire in the United States. Now, by most people's standards in the United States, if you're making over 150 or $200,000, you're making great money by most people's standards in the United States. If you're making athlete money or movie star money or banker money or any other profession that can yield over $1 million a year, lawyers, doctors, these type of people, those people feel like that's valuable. Got another Baltimore tuning in live, listening, replay. Shout out to Baltimore, Maryland. Got a lot of people from Baltimore, Maryland tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate this, the good old state of Baltimore, or city of Baltimore. Maryland though. Private money. We went on the private money sector. Now we're not talking about no birth certificate stuff. Now we're talking about hard what? We're not even if you want to talk about paper, let's talk about intellectual property, a patent, a copyright, a trademark. How many people are talking that way? Whereas on the public sector, they're just talking about, trying to discharge some debt. Maybe they're talking about bankrupting an entity. Maybe they're doing something like that. Whereas in the private sector, we actually have to do something. We have to create something. You got to create in the private. See, this is the stalwart when people come into the private, is you got to create. When you're in the private, you are a creator. When you're in the private, you're creating. There is no lack in the private. It's abundance because it's coming from you as the creator. In the public sector, there's handouts. That's what's going on in the public sector. When people say, well, what's going on with this and what's going on with that? Think about it. Does the public sector pay for the news? No, private money does. They buy, private money buys media so they can control companies putting out negative ads about them. That's private money. Public money, they're putting out ads against their competitors, the guy that's running against them in the race, ladies or otherwise. Public money. What are they doing on the public side, ladies and gentlemen? Are they raising money on the public side or are they taxing people on the public side? Because how does the public make money compared to the private? The private has to create. The public creates out of thin air. Did you know that? The public creates out of thin air. See, the public, is it a manifestation of the private? It has to be. The private was here before the public. The public is the group, it's the community at large. But somehow the community at large feels like there's no need for what? Private money anymore? You're joking. Private money is sitting on the sidelines. There's trillions of dollars sitting on the sidelines, just like they've created trillions of dollars on the public side. The money that's created out of thin air on the public side is definitely sitting on the private side right now, waiting for investment. When you see the market dropping right now, it's because private money doesn't have confidence in these public markets with these companies that are overvalued. Oh, Netflix. Who else? Who are we talking about? What public companies are we talking about? Oh, wow. The major ones are going down, man. Oh, so you didn't think that they went on a Terry for no reason? Well, oh, this electric car company, they don't even make more money than GM. Did you know that? Did you know that? Does Tesla make more money than GM? But somehow their stock is astronomically higher. You don't think that that's a bubble? Maybe you've never seen a tsunami wave that steals people's wealth, but that's what it looks like. They call them bubbles. And private money knows that. Private money can see the numbers behind the numbers, the tweets. Private money is definitely looking for quality investments right now on the public side, on the private side. You know, when you talk about private money right now, private money's been squeezed out of the marketplace from our perspective. It's been squeezed out of the marketplace because the public money has come in and said, we are going to give investors cheap money to play with. We're going to give them monopoly money. And that is not a good look when it comes to doing business in 2021, where leverage is out of control right now. If they're giving the so-called little man or woman, if they're giving the so-called public cheap money, because that's what it's called, cheap money to go out there and invest in the public marketplace, private money is going to definitely regress, pull out of the marketplace, because they don't need to have a higher stake in the marketplace than the public at this very moment right now. They just introduced $1 trillion in the marketplace and it's short-term stimulus, yes, but they've given a lot of people that really traditionally do not invest in the public marketplace capital to invest. And by them having capital to invest now, do you see what's going on? Do you hear young children killing themselves because of the app saying that they owed money? This is where we are in 2021. The marketplace is saying that, are you going to be public? Keep getting public money, or are you going to go do with the private money? Oh, everybody, y'all want us to talk about it? Oh, let's talk about the crypto trust, Christian, in the vault. Let's talk about the crypto. Everybody's talked about the crypto for years. It's an unspoken thing. We said it's illegal borderline because it's unregulated. They didn't think about this. Even marijuana is not regulated. It's illegal. In certain states, it's legal as far as, it being recreational or medicinal, but we're talking about it being in a perspective. It's not just legal. Marijuana is not just legal in the United States. And so for that being the reason, crypto falls into the same category as that, as marijuana. It's unregulated. They have it regulated, like in certain states, they have like, oh, this is medical grade or this is recreational grade. They started regulating it in those states. But as you can see, that's even state choice. Private money. Who do you think lives in California? Who do you think lives in Colorado? Who do you think lives in these places that are passing these laws where these marijuana laws are a lot friendlier now? Private money. They sent some lobbyists in. Oh, you didn't know that? So then they sent the lobbyists in to go in and make sure that, hey, it's only a certain number of grants that are getting ready to go out, certain number of licenses that are going to go out, and guess what? And guess what? You got to give them out to 25 people you know. They got over $1 million. We don't even want people that don't have $1 million invested in this stuff yet. So we'll pass the law, but they better have $1 million plus invested in it. They better have a woman on the board. They better have a minority on the board. We need to make this tax. We need to make this tax break look feasible, and we want in. Public side money says is all debt obligations of the United States. How can it be so? You can write private instruments in the public. You, who is the Federal Reserve? Is that the United States government? No, it's not. Private money. You can go read, The Creature of Jekyll's Isle. Like, they already told you what they did, but we're 80, 100 years deep, and you're not changing it. You and your militia is not going to change it. It's just the facts. It's do business as usual. You know how to play the game. You got to be nimble. If you will operate in another jurisdiction, you will operate in their jurisdictional laws. Just like if you're in the States, you operate in their jurisdictional laws when you're in their jurisdiction. People say, oh, I'm walking around on the land. It's artificial this. We're talking about public money and private money, though. Guess what? How you going to get around? You think they stupid? They got the money marked with little tracers and stuff on it. They got serial numbers on it. That's the public. How you going to get around? Oh, I'm going to use private money. Okay, that's fair. You got to use private money where private money is accepted. Well, right now we are seeing the adoption of crypto with these corporations. We've seen this in the past recent year. We didn't see this 2 years ago. And this is the facts because I was sitting there when everybody went broke off the first wave. They didn't know the value of it. So the average Joe just got pushed out. The banks are inside of the crypto. They've been in the whole time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Feel free to type into the chat where you tune in live, listen, replay. Shout out to Memphis, Tennessee. Some good barbecue in Memphis, Tennessee. Appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in live, listen, replay. Private money. How did you get yours? Is it yours? Do you own it? Or do you control it? That's private money. Is it a part of the family estate? Or is it in your social or in the social, the public number? Appreciate Florida for tuning in live, listen, replay. Shout out to Florida. Got Florida tuning in live. Private money. This is the hidden jewel. Oh man, trust Christian, man. I don't know. Silver, it keeps going up and down right now, man. Gold, gold's gonna get beat up. See, this is what Trust Christian in the vault doesn't like. Is how these new baby investors think, oh man, I'm gonna go invest in crypto and I'm gonna become a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire. Because if I put in $1,000 and it goes up 20x, then I'll be a multi-millionaire. Okay, and then they're trying to say that gold has no value long term. Listen up. Guess what? The gold that you're trying to say has no value. Guess what? Your crypto has no value in space because gold, they use those on spaceships. They use those in those rovers that they send on other planets. They send those in the equipment that they're using. Now, we're not going to say crypto can't go in space because, once again, it's a radio signal. They just made the future money. That's fine. But they use gold. There's silver in your cell phone. There's silver in your computer. Can they send crypto through an internet signal? Through a signal? Yes. So you already know it's the internet money. So that's fine. It's supposed to be private money. That's fine. Well, how many of you all are looking for them to push regulation around it? Because guess what? Private money is essentially saying they're not touching it. In some respects, you really see banks on the public side, institutions are public on the public side, saying that they're going in on this crypto stuff. Now you are seeing some more other private organizations, private money organizations. But think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The average man or woman is considered the public money. They're not the private money. The private money is the big money. So the private money is what's developing the crypto. The public money is trying to get rich off of it. Well, we know how that game goes. Private money likes all money, public and private. The public people are going to lose the money. How are they going to lose their money, Trust Christian in the vault? Well, guess what? The private money is going to buy the data from Robinhood. And they're going to do spikes and do pump and dumps continuously. They might even leak information on the internet to websites like Reddit. They're going to leak information. Yeah, we have a short position here. The public's going to go in. They're going to say it's a short squeeze. Really? Are you serious? You serious? You fell for that one? Because guess what comes next? Oh, wow. Guess what? Bam! The stock goes to astronomical. And wham! The next day it goes down. And wham! You hear the media come out the next day. Oh, we need more intervention. We need government intervention. The big guy is trying to squeeze out the little guy. The little guy has no chance against the big guy. And how are these big guys able to short the little guys? How are they able to do that? Because they're in an actual regulated industry. It's regulated. It's called speculation. It's a business. See, public money wants free money. Private earns it. If you in the private sector, it's a zero sum game. You either make money or you lose money. In the public sector, it's almost it's almost easy enough and fair enough to say in the public sector you could lose money twice. Why? Because they have things in the public that are called depreciation. So you can write things off that are against the profit that you make because the asset supposedly was. It's crazy. They have these terms in the public called depreciation, whereas in the private sector, you either you either have it or you don't. It's hard or it's not. It's tangible or it's not. The public sector lives off a different type of philosophy. Right now, the public sector is trillions of dollars in debt. The private sector says you either have the money or you don't. There is no hypothecation in the private sector. Is this message too high above people's head? Is for the common man supposedly these sensible financial conversations about business as usual, private money versus public money? Of course, it's business as usual. And what are we going to do about it? Are you going to do business as usual? Private money. It's so much in abundance in the private sector right now looking to be invested. We see it every day. There's a pent up demand for investment on the private sector right now, just like you all see that on the public side. So, what happened on the public side, on public money, was the government said, okay, we need to give out money so money can be spent with confidence. We need to give out money so people can feel like, look, if the companies are being fed some money, then people will keep shopping no matter what. They want consumer shopping to continue going on. They utilize things such as the University of Michigan's Consumer Confidence Index. They utilize these indicators in the marketplace, and they want to continue the spending. Shout out to the Bronx, New York, for tuning in live, listening to replay. Shout out to the Bronx. Always appreciate you all up there in the Bronx. Is it still cold up in the Bronx right now? It's March. It's March in the year. It shouldn't be cold anywhere in America, but it's probably cold in the Bronx. And that's why we're not there. So, public money versus private money. Private money versus public money. Trust Christian. So, this is how my life turned out, Trust Christian. They said it's freezing in the Bronx right now, ladies and gentlemen. So if you don't know what the weather's like in the Bronx, it's freezing in March. That's why you're not supposed to go there, cause it's cold, and they don't have snow slopes unless you're going to the mountains. The Bronx is in a city, so it's a cold. What they call it, the cold jungle, with the concrete jungle, and it's cold. Private money, private sector right now. What are we having to do? We're having to be very selective in our investment processes because the government threw out so much money to average consumers that what are we doing? What are we to do now? We're gonna let them spend the money with these companies. They're gonna spend their money. The American companies. They may spend it with some emerging market companies. Um, but as it stands right now, we're in March. See, whether you know it or not, we're already in the reopening phase. And we just saw some businesses go out of business and some businesses are going to continue to grow. Some people think they slick in the private sector. Oh, I went out and I bought Pier 1. What are you doing? The stores are going bankrupt. Oh, I'm gonna buy these distressed department stores. Macy's is not distressed. They understand that there's internet shopping. Amazon has proven that to them. So their model doesn't work. The big store model doesn't work. But hold on, no. You got these stupid geniuses in the private sector right now. They're saying, we're going to go into the public and buy these distressed stores. And I'm going to run an ad on YouTube and let you know that. So I'm going to pump up the fact that I'm going to go in, pump up this little bit of this. You think they didn't do that to Blockbuster? You think they didn't pump up Blockbuster until the end? And then we see, is there even a stock for Blockbuster? Private money. Private money. Well, what happened to the private money? Trust Christian, that's what my life. Oh, yeah, we were going to say that example. This is what my life looks like, Trust Christian. I was born into a world with paper money from the Federal Reserve. So, what's private money? Well, sorry that your family didn't have gold and silver private assets. They didn't have collectible art or collectible cars. If they have those assets, if they do have those assets or have those assets, not just passing along cash to you, remember, they're not passing along the paper money, which is the public money. They're not passing along it. So let's just say the family's passing along true private money. What about the insurance policy, Trust Christian? Now you're talking. Now you're talking. Because that doesn't still, it just is a number on a paper. It doesn't mean it went in the notes. Numbers on papers. That's what an asset is, whether it's property or not. It could be written down as appraisal on paper. Right, right. Private money. Where are we investing right now? We've always invested in education. We invest in charity. We invest in the public. Private sector invest in the public sector. That's why the public is where it is, because the private sector has built it up. You got to put yourself in position. It is a either or. But when are you going to play the game you want to play the game, the way you want to play the game? With private money, pure private money. Is it possible, Trust Christian? Think about how possible it is to operate off pure public money right now. So, appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. It's always a pleasure to talk to you all and share with you all, because a lot of trustees ask us about this private money topic. Oh, Trust Christian, when we going to be able to see, the private money? We share with you what the private money is. The public money is the paper money. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at a critical moment right now where this money conversion system supposedly is going to change. And just like we saw the Federal Reserve take over the government, you're going to see a new situation happen. So yes, you have that opportunity. People had opportunity to catch assets before they went to 35 and 55 and $55,000, as a Bitcoin. Now we're at the point where people are 100 years ahead of their time. That's what happens right now. But to disacknowledge other assets such as a gold and a silver in your portfolio is neglectful. Because the portfolio requires hard, tangible assets, not just this internet digital money that if you don't have a digital device, it's worthless. You can use gold and silver to heal you as a human being. How can someone say it doesn't? It's going to lose value. Think about it. Gold and silver can heal you. So how is it that someone can say, well, it's this, that? They're trying to debase what's called currency, what's called a commodity. what's called an asset. Do you see how private sector right now is investing in the public sector to debase other assets? Because the public sector is ignorant. They have no good. They know no good. They don't know that the public sector, the private sector is developing the crypto. So the public people think that, oh, okay, yeah, this is for our good, because then it'll get rid of the public money. You're right, it will. Who do you think is in ownership of the cryptos right now, anyways? Private money, not public. The public is where it's regulated. The private is where it's unregulated. The public is where it's regulated. The private's where it's unregulated. And we'll say it for good measure. The public is where it's regulated. Is crypto regulated yet? No. It's the private money. It's unregulated. We can give you the wink. It matters not. We're not stuck on this one asset. I hate when people get so caught up in these one asset moves like, oh, you got to get this asset, you got to get this asset. It's like they're not counting risk or maintenance fees. Now, there's argument for the crypto. There's argument. Remember, we're in a speculative environment. Investing is speculative. What's crypto? Speculative. It has no real tangible value. It can't heal you. It can't save you. It's money. It's currency. It's electricity. And these people are trying to say, well, it's the only thing that traps you and holds your electric energy. No, doofus. I promise you. I've sat around people that are very freaking intelligent and very well off, and they said that gold and silver is how you preserve your human energy. They say you use precious metals, you use collectible art to preserve your human energy because they will never lose value as soon as you buy them. They preserve your human energy. But now they're trying to say, well, this is one of the fastest moving ones that preserves your energy. Quite fair. Gold, you can't move through the internet. That would be, once again, digital money. So that would be the crypto. Fair. We hear this argument, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe this is too much for people to handle. Is this too much for people to handle, Fred? Is this too much for people to handle, Yvette? Is this too much for people to handle, Dark Matter? Is this too much to handle, the introverted alpha? People want to be lied to? Is this supreme outstanding? Is this too much for people to handle? What about life is what you make it? Is this too much for people to handle? Maybe that's why they didn't call in on a live episode. When the number's in the description, 443-296-2465. It's in the description. Maybe people don't talk about this because they got a public education. So they don't want to talk about the private stuff that we talk about. Think about it. The private just means business. Remember, it's business, not personal. That's all it is. Appreciate everybody just typed into the chat. Y'all gave me a good laugh right there. That was a good one. Appreciate that. And this is where we are. 2021. People don't, they say many people don't want to talk about this topic. Somebody said many are called, but few are chosen. Isn't that the truth? And you got to choose yourself. You got to choose your family. Did you choose to go private yet? Did you make the sacrifice? You're the sacrificial lamb if you're the first gen. If you're second gen, you've been given the hookup. If you're the third gen, you're very blessed. Very, very blessed. We'll actually say you're three times blessed because you made it to third generation, which it really never happens. I said it's too much for their skulls and spirits to receive. They don't believe. Ah, that was a good one. Uh, that might be the truth. But nevertheless, did you guys partner up to go private? You got to partner up to go private. Trust Christian and the Vault did. Sometimes you got to do that in the beginning. If you're first gen, you think Elon didn't partner with his brother? They slept in the office. You got to do that. Pre- Good thing I know English well enough to know how to work around the typos, Fred, into the chat. Appreciate you. Uh, but yeah, definitely. Someone typed into the chat. They said people in the world feel like I pretty much rather have benefits and privileges. And ladies and gentlemen, we understand that with freedom, high execution comes with a responsibility. So how's this gonna work, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we have to have people that are gonna say we want private money to stand forever. Cause right now, the public is attacking the private, saying we don't want private money around. Remember, the public is regulated. That's why they're rejecting the crypto. But guess what? Crypto's moved around billions of dollars already. It's moved around billions of renminbi. It's moved around billions of Mexican pesos. It's moved around billions of other currencies. Remember, people have to take their money out and put it into the coin, right? Right. That's what gives the coin value. It's because now, since somebody wants to put their money into the coin or put their money into the thing, they to the asset, give their money, take it out of their denomination and the public money, put it into the private sector. Guess what? The public's like, what are you doing? You're taking money out of circulation. We don't like that. So they just put more money in the marketplace. Do you see what's been going on now? The private sector is growing. There's a need for the private sector. Oh, we want private everything. We don't want you to steal our information. We want to be able to be encrypted. We only want you to have what you're supposed to have to get the work you need to get done on the internet. But guess what? Right now, the internet's unregulated. What was that? Net neutrality. Are you familiar with net neutrality? You ask the average person, do they know about net neutrality? These big corporations, you can't sue them. They're like big pharma now. But guess what? Oh, you think Robin Hood didn't pay people off? Hold on. You think Wells Fargo didn't pay people off? Hold on. You don't think companies pay people off through a settlement? Right. That's the age we're in. We're in the age of the settlement. If you would like to sue, as people say, sue me. And as you can see, we're in the very litigious environment right now. We've been in that way for hundreds of years, but we'll say the last 100 for sure. Because remember, if a person's wealthy, somebody can just try to sue you if you have the assets in your name. Right. So wealthy people say, okay, we're going to make sure that we can't be sued out of our assets. We're going to make sure that there's other things available. The private sector creates that, whether that's through trust, whether that's through corps, whether that's through associations. What else do they have? They have all types of contracts and things on the public side and private side. They have these different things to protect them. Whereas on the public side, you're fully exposed. You can be sued out of your assets. Somebody said net. I think they were saying net neutrality was uh, put in or taken out during the Obama administration. We're gonna go ahead and share this with the audience, the listening audience, because we already know. We're not gonna say nothing else about that. But so here we go. There's some, basically they're trying to talk about these freemium platforms, which are free platforms. Internet service providers must treat all internet communications equally and not discriminate or charge differently based on user content, website, platform, application, type of equipment, source, address, uh, destination address, or method of communication. So, like, let's just say, like, we'll just use like a Facebook for example. They're trying to say because they like, okay, you have an internet service provider. Facebook is just a company on the internet. It's not the internet service provider such as a like a Comcast or like any of a major corporation like these public utilities companies. So when they found out that these companies such as like Facebook and them were making an inordinate amount of money, they were like, okay, maybe we could charge them more money. We can charge them. We can charge. No, you can't do that. Now they're trying to get into, well, how do we look at it? They're trying to say it's a regulated industry. The internet marketing, where these people supposedly got free platforms, they're not charging for them, but they're making tons of money. How they making money? So these companies have been accused of human rights violations. Why? Because they're saying that these websites they're not regulated, so they're allowing. We don't want to say we don't want to be offensive on this environment, but nevertheless, as far as like they have human rights offenses against these companies for stealing people's information, for trafficking, all type of stuff. These companies are under large investigations for sure. You think they're not? They're not regulated. Did you know that there's banned books lists in the United States? Did you know that there's banned book lists? So some companies they allow you to do more stuff on their website. So a lot of these tech companies are reporting losses right now. Like okay, for example, here we go. Here's a good example of why they say, okay, remember, Facebook is an internet company, right? It's on the internet. So it's using a lot of data. So they want to be able to charge these companies some way to say you're a utility on our pipeline because you're literally having a lot of people data. Like data's coming through. People having overage charges and charges and we want to charge you more. Okay? Here's another company, Netflix. Think about how much streaming people do on the internet. Well, they're trying to say we should be able to tax these companies. Why? Because people are streaming on top of buying their service, and their service is cheap. The service is cheap. So how are they making all this money? And they're not giving us any of it. They're not giving the internet companies money. I mean, they're not giving at the ISPs any money. They're not giving ISPs any money. But are they? ISPs are advertising on their websites. This is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Somebody said gas prices are rising. First of all, gas prices are rising because they just introduced cheap money into the marketplace. It doesn't matter whether it's inflation or not. They just introduced cheap money. How long is this stimulus going to play out? We've seen this since the Obamas. They started passing quantitative easing. Quantitative easing is still going on essentially at this point. The government has no type of, and this is how you know you got to make decisions based off of your finances, not based off of your emotions. First of all, think about it. If they're willing to go ahead and run up amok with debt, why would you be in an insolvent country? People believe that the banks are too big to fail. Ladies and gentlemen, look, who you think falls the hardest? The biggest ones. We don't need to report doom and gloom. Why would you not protect yourself in a private money perspective? The public money, they already showed you. They're introducing more cheap debt into the marketplace. This is what you're living through. Whether it's the Fed buying bonds or the government just printing money. And this is where we are. And we got to make it a point to say, okay, as the millennials, This show is catered towards the millennials and otherwise. Hey, look, private means you gotta go private. You gotta invest in your private education. It's not gonna be free and it's gonna be for the rest of your life. Private education equals the private money. Public education equals the public money. Someone said, I'm considering getting a job to gain the startup capital. We were talking to someone about that earlier today about how like everybody that starts their own bank in the private sector, they might have went and worked for a bank on the public sector side, but then they went like when you look at most venture capitalists or most private equity funds, most of them were in the public sector working for a public company, whether it's Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, whether it's any major bank, Bear Stearns, any one of the older time companies, any major institution that is trading money, they were in the public sector and they went into the private sector and created their own. So, a lot of times that we think so many people they kind of misunderstand that oh, do I go into the private sector, get my money up, and then go back into the private sector? Like sometimes you have to do that, ladies and gentlemen, and that's just the bottom line. But is it to the come up mentality or is it the stay there mentality? Like, oh, I'm gonna just work my way, get $100,000 a year, get $200,000 a year, and I'm gonna be straight for the rest of my life. By the time I reach 65, I would have saved up $1 million. I probably have just a little bit like $1 million saved up, and I'm gonna live off the interest off that. So I could live off $50,000 a year. I could live off $80,000 a year. I was only making 100,000. Yeah, I'm thinking my bills is gonna be less expensive when I'm 65, 75, and people living longer in the United States. See, this is what y'all not taking into account, millennials and the people that's 45 and 55. People are living longer. They actually living 15 years longer than 65. So they got the age up now to 75, 80 when people start collecting Social Security. They penalize you if you don't take it at one point. They penalize you if you make too much money in retirement. Where's the encouragement to be independent when somebody is taking your wealth, your entire life as an employee, says if you make a certain amount of money, we're not even gonna give it back to you. That's called a loser's game. Losers play that game. They the ones that want to stay under the poverty line. How do you think you're able to collect Social Security? By being under the poverty line. Once you get past poverty, you can't collect Social Security no more. It's for poverty. It's to keep you impoverished. It's the welfare fund for the United States. So what if you gotta pay it? Are you gonna live on it? Great question. We got a question in the chat. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to the replay. Uh, Somebody said, I'm a notary now, but how can I still be a notary when I go private and take no benefit and privilege? Well, first of all, that means that there's a LLC that company's operating out of. And then are you working for that company as an employee? Are you working as a non-compensated officer? Are you working as a board member that's not taking a salary? Are you taking a salary? Are you an employee? We talked to an accountant. I think we had someone type into the chat that episode. They asked the accountant, well, should they go as a contractor? Y'all can reach out to her. We brought her on the episode so y'all can reach out to her. We did an episode. What a tax planner. What with a IRS enrolled agent. Y'all can reach out to Larissa and ask her that question. I'm a notary. Should I take a salary? This is tax planning. That's what you do in the private. You plan for taxes. Whereas in the public, they couldn't even tell you how much money they're supposed to either owe or not owe. So when you talk about can you still be the notary? Of course you're going to be the notary, but obviously you got bonded in the public. It's a public bond. Wake up, ladies and gentlemen. It's a public bond. Now, it's not to say you're taking a benefit or a privilege. Of course you can. Of course you can. What they call it? What we say? The defer? Not defer. You don't have to always defer. It could be like a. You just not look. Steve Jobs didn't take a salary. Donald Trump doesn't take a salary. Why are y'all trying to take salaries? Because you were taught that in the public. So how you think you're gonna get around that and really learn it? You gotta invest in your private education. Whether it's a consultation with Trust Christian in the Vault, you can get a consultation, Christian at trustchristian.com, or you can go through Trustee Training, Christian at trustchristian.com. She was in the episode. Just go into the thing and just type in the vault and put tax planning or something. We'll pull it up. We'll pull it up for you. Yeah, so somebody might have typed it in the chat. I'm looking at another screen right now. Not double fisting it, as they say. Notary is in public and they need your social security number. Well, see, when you come in trustee training, trustees know, do you really have a social security number? Do you own that social security number? Trustees know this. That's called investing in your private education. So we correct our language when we're in the private because we understand how important it is to know that it's either ours or it's not. And if we say that it's ours, that means it implies some level of ownership. So when you say you have to have that, that means you're in the public by default. Yeah, let's see if we can do this. We'll see. Gotta pull up this episode. IRS EA. 1 second. Here we go. It's episode 291. So you all can pull up that episode. It's episode 291. You all can look into that episode. And that is The Vault episode 291, Preparing Taxes for a Trust, interview with IRS EA. The lady's taking a test that says she can defend you in court for issues with taxes. So, this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. You got to deal with the best. You got to deal with people that can hold their own weight. Successful people have always tax planned. That's why they call them wealth management, tax estate planning, and wealth management environments. They're planning out their situation. Trustee gets on the line today. We'll give you all a gold gym right here. We'll give you a gym. This is a gym. This is beyond the gym. You want to know why it's beyond a gym? Because it's beyond Trust Christian in the Vault. That's why. Because it's a gym. A gemstone will outlive me and you. That's why it's an asset. How can crypto outlive me and you if we don't have the buttons, we don't have the fingers to push it? It's gonna die. Whereas gold and silver, it's outlived us, outlived man. It's gonna outlive man. If we don't use all the diamonds, all the pearls, all the precious metals, if we don't use it all up. Supposedly we live in an abundant universe, but we also got them creating laws about drilling on asteroids, drilling on the moon, drilling on other planets. They're passing laws right now on the planet regulating space laws. There's a thing called space law. They have a space force. Private money versus public money. Many are called, but few were chosen for sure. It was too easy. We live in a world of complications. You got to give a man a book to learn how to think. You got to give a man a book to learn how to do anything. You got to give a man a book to learn what to eat. Appreciate the dialogue in the chat right now. We actually stay on the air for you all. Otherwise, we be studying. So we always appreciate everybody tuning in live, listening to replay, typing in the chat right now. Somebody asked into the chat, and it's definitely a little it's not the exact one topic question of private money, public money, but it's very applicable to the current status of what we're talking about, which we're going to answer it, which is where is the most affordable place to acquire gold and silver? And so this is definitely a question we get, especially a lot on a consultation. People will come through, and we always tell people you want to go to your local coin and silver dealer, gold. Local coin dealer, those are usually the places that are going to have decent prices, of course, with these like they have these premium increases, like they had premium increases when gold and silver was up last year in 2020, so they had a premium on it. It's like, oh, we're putting a premium on gold and silver right now. So that's all that was last year, whereas now, right now, you see, the premium may not be as high. Maybe they're being squeezed out right now. Maybe they're just, it has its just standard value. It's like copper, or it's like aluminum. Like, they have tangible daily value. So, when you're looking at it in a more of a hard collector's perspective, to acquire it from a hard collector's perspective, um, like we say, that's usually going to be at your local, especially if you're talking about like non-confiscatable things like that. If you're talking that, like, you're going to go get it from a non like a private shop, you're not going to go to the public. You're going to go to 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 the private place. You're going to go to where the business is. Where they say, look, some places don't even deal with tax liability sometime and things like that. Why? Because it's the private sector. Remember, it's gold and silver. So when you get in those environments, you got to think about that. The taxes are in the public; they're not in the private. The private is unregulated. Remember that. You could sell gold and silver for whatever price somebody wants to sell it for. So that's the beauty of it. See, this is the trick. The public has to get you and bait you into an asset based off of fear. People say, oh, people go to gold and silver when they're trying to save their money and hedge their money. No, they're not. Gold and silver has actual tangible value. Since cell phones, they're creating more cell phones every day. That means they're going to use more gold and silver. What are you talking about? Get rid of this fear mentality. This fear. You're scared. People are trying to scare you into a position. They're trying to scare you out of a position. It's fear in the public. There's no fear in the private. It's accurate knowledge. It's accurate, demonstrable processes, systems, and procedures. That's what's in the private. It's not in the public. They'll tell you, oh, there's a panic. There's a chaos. It's not in the private. In the private, there's chaos and we got order. We create that order out of the chaos. Somebody typed into the chat, they don't know what they're talking about. Swiss America. What the hell are you talking about? Type into the chat, Swiss America. What are you talking about? Like, you should just delete the comment because it's a pointless comment to say Swiss America. You're confusing the hell out of people in the chat. No one knows what the hell that means, Swiss America. What benefit is to say something that is an oxymoron? There's no such thing as Swiss America. So unless you want to elaborate and get rid of these fragmented statements, and it's the thing about people around the world that type into the chat and things like this, we have a very educated audience. They want to be able to be educated. To say that and to answer whether it's an implication to the question or even to say Swiss America, where is Swiss America at? In Switzerland right now, the Americans are being turned away from Switzerland. This is a fact. But when you don't know what you're talking about in the world, people say, "Oh, go over to Switzerland. Switzerland's gonna get you your anonymity." No, it's not. They're not allowing Americans to come over there and open up bank accounts. That's the worst place to go right now in the world as an American. Is to go to Switzerland. I'm gonna go to Switzerland. As an American, you're a joke. They're gonna say, remember, just like somebody typed into the chat about the social security number, how you gonna open up the bank account in Switzerland without a social security number? American. Public money versus private money. We can see who's operating privately and who's not. We don't even need to name drop jurisdictions right now, because if you're really operating in a true private capacity, you wouldn't even you wouldn't even throw out the country that you're operating in the private sector. Because we could say right now, let's go here. How come over 70% of the yachts that are most of 70% of the yachts in the world are set up in the Cayman Islands? Huh. Still the Caymans to this day. Cayman Islands to this day, 2021. Over 70% of the world's yachts private yachts, these mega yachts, are registered in the Bahamas, in the Cayman Islands. Hold on. Americans got those yachts, right? Yeah. The foreigners from other countries got those yachts. Right, right, right. But hold on. I thought that the Cayman Islands and the what's the what that the Caymans, the Bahamas, those were like what is it? OECD? Let's go look at it. And this is not a good organization. OECD. This is regulation, remember. OE Hold on, is it hold on, no, it's definitely not that. OECD. Yes, organizations of economic, cooperative, and development. So these companies now, these countries, oh, they're working together. We want to be able to make sure that when our citizens go into that jurisdiction, they have to report taxes. Oh, okay. OECD. Okay. So they're having to report that. And so a lot of people ask, well, is it better through the internet or through the face-to-face contact? It's through face-to-face contact. It's through the hand-to-hand contact. Why? Because that's the private. The public is the World Wide Web. It's the internet. That's the paper assets. It's not the hard tangibles. Appreciate your supreme overstanding. They said it's a place here in America. It's a place that sells gold and silver. They're dealers. There you go. Remember, we definitely want to put out there as well. Is it online or is it hard tangible? Because if it's hard tangible, then it's definitely a place to go. If it's something that's over the internet, then you got to look at it. Okay, remember the internet they have internet laws. The internet is almost having to be federal regulated, but then at the state level, they're trying to regulate it as well. Isn't crypto internet? Yes. And are they regulating it on the state level? Yes. Are they regulated on the federal level? They're getting there. I think they said heard. I don't know if they really meant that. Appreciate we reading everybody's stuff into the chat. uh, I get hopefully HARD is a place, but definitely. Oh, hard tangibles, definitely hard tangibles. No, no, no. Appreciate you for tuning live, listening to replay. Always appreciate that. So we just appreciate the dialogue because there's so many people that they need these type of conversations about these different type of conversations, but we still gave edification on the fact that yes, Americans don't think you're gonna walk into Switzerland and you're gonna open up a bank account in Switzerland tomorrow. Oh, I'm gonna have the private bank account in Switzerland, the private money. You're not. You're not even gonna make. They're not gonna let you in the lobby, and if you get in the lobby, you're not getting past the lobby. You're not gonna see a banker. Bottom line. If you're an American and you have an American passport, bottom line. People think it's easy. There's no way you're gonna tell us that right now, and we know most people are not having that level of experience. They're not, especially in Switzerland. They're one of the few countries they're like, we don't even want Americans to come here. Why? Because they understand the tax liability, tax implications. They understand the fact that they're going to have to give up information. First of all, who's going to want that information? The United States, right? So they're not even trying to be hooked up that way. That's the difference between public money and private money. You know how to operate internationally privately. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Get into the classes, get a consultation, move forward. Appreciate you all.